Good morning. Jimmy Buffett talks about having a bank of bad habits in one of his songs. He talks about the fact that one by one they'll do you in. He tells us that they're bound to take control. Now, I didn't want to sing to you or I might end up with a copyright violation, but I think that bank of bad habits is something we need to discuss. Do you have trouble with habitual sin? I think we all do. I'll talk about that in just a second. Did you know that there is a myth that is perpetuated by the world at large? You know, it says that when Christians turn to Jesus, that they are perfect, that they never make mistakes, and that their life is wonderful. Do you know that? If only that were true. I wish it were true. But the reality is life is rarely wonderful all the time. And the fact is that even though I'm a follower of Christ and that I've given him my heart and my soul, and maybe you have too, the reality is we're still people, and we're still flawed, and we are still fallible and full of sin. You know, the Bible tells us that our righteousness is as filthy rags. So who am I to judge anyone? That's what judgment means, is judging someone as if you were God, not judging a situation. But what do we do with habitual sin? How do we deal with that? How do we overcome it? I know people that deal with drinking. I know people that have a drug issue. There are people that are addicted to pornography. There are people that have anger problems. You name it. If it's a sin, some human somewhere is struggling with it. I promise you. So what do we do with habitual sin? Well, I'll tell you what we don't do. I think sometimes that's best to examine a problem by what we don't do. What we don't do is try to tackle it by ourselves. It's never good to say, okay, if I can just be strong enough, if I can just be spiritual enough, if I can just read my Bible enough and pray enough, I will be able to overcome this. It's not going to work, folks. The best thing to do is to ask God to help you because he is the overcomer, and through him, we can overcome everything. Then it's also wise sometimes to bring a trusted friend, one that won't betray you, along your side, and tell them what you're struggling with and have them pray for you. Sometimes it's better to try to tackle these things as a corporation, not just as an individual. A lot of times when we try to handle it ourselves, we just end up alone and in the dark, committing the same sins over and over and over again. It feels as if there's no escape. That's generally because we're kind of committing another sin, the sin of pride, thinking, I can handle this myself. I'll get myself good enough. You'll never be good enough, and you'll never be able to handle yourself on your own. You need to turn to God, who is the authority over all things, and he will help you. And remember, Christianity and becoming sanctified, it's a process. We give our hearts to Christ, and we're not immediately perfect. It's a process that we have to work on each and every day. And it is the great artist that works on us. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's freeing. Sometimes it's a little scary. But it's his work, not ours. We just need to open our hearts and listen to him. We need to be willing to ask for help when we need it, from him and from trusted Christian friends that we know and love. No one does this life alone. So if you've got a bad habit and you really want to break it, you probably won't solve the problem by yourself. Have a great day. Be kind to each other. Maybe you can be that one that others turn to. See you next time.